Alright everybody, welcome back to Minigun tutorial. This is part 3. If you've not watched part 1 or part 2, check in the description beneath this video and you can watch the entire playlist. And well, let's get started. So we left off last time. We began our main body and added a little bit of detail to it. And let me drop back down to my desktop here. What we're going to do now is we're going to leave this main body the way that it is for now and work on this frame, support frame, and handle. So what we're going to do is drop a cube into our scene, and we're going to scale this down. It's going to resemble a piece of flat iron. Move that out where we can get a look at it. That would be about a 1/4 inch in thickness and probably 2 inches or so in the width. So just scale yours approximately how you see here. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know, when you're doing this kind of stuff, there's no way at all you could ever duplicate what you've done before. You're just trying to get it close. So if we can get it close, we'll be doing good. So get yours close and get ready to move this guy down so that it intersects this body just a touch. You'll see what I'm doing. Just follow along. You might just watch this until I get it to this point and then pause the video and do the same thing yourself. To try to follow along with all this moving around is almost impossible. But once you see what I'm going to do, it'll make sense to you. So I'm just trying to manipulate this into place where it intersects that wall just a touch. Something about like that. And now I'm going to rotate it so that it's parallel to that outer wall. And I might come down a touch. Something about like this. Rotate it again, and I'm trying to just get that parallel to that edge of this circumference here, and I'm going to move it into place so that it intersects. I don't want it to push through. See how that's pushing through? I don't want it to do that. I just want it to be embedded in there to some degree, and I'm going to fatten that up just a touch. Come back closer to that edge a little bit. And let me go back to my desktop. You see what we're doing is we're creating this area here where this frame support would connect into the body of the minigun. Now it's not exactly like the one you saw, but it will serve to do the same thing. Might even come down a little bit more. Rotate it so that it matches that outer shape of the case, and then push it back in there just a touch so that it's embedded but not sticking through the inside there. And I think we're good there. Okay, so get yours to this point where it looks similar to that. I'll come in just a touch. Get yours something similar to that. And once you've got that, hit C on your keyboard and let's make this editable. Now we're going to select this bottom face. Get your face selection tool. We'll select that bottom edge. And we're going to change how that rotates. But first, let's do something like this. Go to your edge selection tool. Select this top edge right there. And we're going to pull it straight down so that it is just below the bottom of this canister. So I'm going to pull it down just like that. So it's just below that a little bit. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to get this edge. Get in these tight areas here. You kind of got to do a lot of zooming to get that selected like you want it. Okay, got that bottom edge. And we're going to pull it down also. so that it's parallel to what would be the ground. Something just about like you see here. So we've got an interesting angle happening. If this bottom isn't perfect, you can play with it and tweak it. None of this is going to be perfect. I'm going to pull that down just a little bit more so that I'm a little more uniform. Maybe something about like that. That may be too far, but that'll do. Alright, so what we're going to do now is deselect everything. And we're going to rotate under and get a look at that face. And we're going to grab this face with our face selection tool. Right here. Now we're going to modify its rotational axis. Select your axis modification tool. And what I mean by rotational axis is how it rotates. We're going to move this handle over so that it's just beyond this edge. And that gives it a nice rotational axis to give this a big gradual curve. And so what we're going to do now, once you've got that axis modification tool and have modified your position of rotation, deselect your axis modification tool, click rotate, and at this point what we're going to do is we're going to perform this kind of a bend at the bottom. See where that's 90 degrees vertical, and then we're going to go 90 degrees horizontal. So with your axis modification tool deselected, your rotation tool selected, try to get yourself in a point of view where you can see it in a true straight on view, something about like this. Now what we're going to do is press Control on our keyboard, Control, and then we're going to click and rotate, click and rotate, click and rotate. Make all your rotations approximately the same. You see what we're doing? We're creating a big gradual bend here. So I'm going to back up, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Click and rotate, Control click and rotate, right? Control click and rotate, Control click and rotate, Control click and rotate. And you want to make all these approximately the same amount of rotation for each one. And what we want to do is ultimately stop where we're perfectly vertical, something about like this, okay? Where our blue handle is perpendicular to our piece that we extruded downward. Okay, now if you're not perfect, we can adjust this later on. I don't expect you to be perfect. I'm not perfect. So anyway, let's deselect everything. Take a look at that. And with our face selection tool, let's select the face that we just moved. Okay, see what we've got there. Let's zoom out a touch. And what we're going to do now is we're going to insert a symmetry object. If you go up top here, click Symmetry, drop that into your scene. I'm going to take that cube and drop that into the symmetry object where we have a down arrow. Now, the symmetry object is just like going to Walmart and shopping and buying one, getting one free. With symmetry, you get two. You get the one you're working on, and then you get the free one, which is the exact opposite, but it's symmetrical to the one you're working on. And here's what I mean. We've worked on one, and now we've got the other. So anytime we manage this one, we're going to have the same thing correspond with our free one. So buy one, get one free with the symmetry object is pretty damn cool. Alright, so we've got our face selected. So what we're going to do is we're going to Control click and come out about a ½ inch. Then we're going to Control click and come on down all the way to the end. Just short of that end, or just even with that end, more or less. Okay, and you see we've got a downhill angle going on mine because I didn't get that last rotation perfect, but no big deal. What we can do is go to our axis modification tool. We're going to take and rotate so that our axis of rotation is vertical by just rotating that so that we're good and vertical. Okay, see what I'm talking about? We're nice and square. This red rotational axis is vertical, straight up and down. And then disable your axis modification tool. And at this point we can move that entire face up or down, and we can fix any crookedness that we had. So get a look at it and you see I render that out. It's relatively straight. You know, you can play with that, get that however you like it. Let's see if I can get mine just about right. Something about like that. I think I look pretty good. And it just helps to look at it from a variety of angles just to verify things. I still may be a little bit low. Go up one more. I think I'm good there. Alright, so now what we're going to do, pause if you need to, guys. Back this up. Make sure you get it right. Remember, everything I'm doing is repetition. It's the same thing, just at a different place. And you just kind of have to have a little foresight of what you want to do and what you need to do, and where you need to make your cuts and where you need to extrude. Okay, so I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to select my that face there, and I'm going to go up top and choose select loop selection. I'm going to select this entire piece, just like you see. We don't need the end selected. You just need this piece selected. And now I'm going to do right click, knife, and I'm going to insert a cut about right here and a cut about right here. And I'm going to come on the end. I'm going to leave about the 1/2 inch on that end, and I'm going to come in about this same distance that you see right here. So about right there. So now I'm going to deselect everything. You see what we've got. We've got this face that we're going to work with, and we've got this face that we're going to work with. But what we need to do is we need to select this and this. Don't need that edge, just need that top. And I'm going to do right click, knife. I'm going to come back around, and I'm going to insert a cut along that edge, about like that. So you see what we've got. We've made a nice little piece here. Let me deselect that. You can see this piece and this piece. So I'm going to select this piece. Again, you might have to zoom in. These things get tricky sometimes. And then shift click to select that one. So you'll have them selected just like I see here, with just those two similar pieces are selected. Okay. At this point, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to rotate my axis modification tool. Select this. We're going to rotate this again so that it's vertical. And to me, it looked about 50 degrees. And once you've got that, disable your axis modification tool. And we're going to control click up. Okay. And we've just intersected our main body just a touch. But once you've let go, you can pull this out like that. And now we've got that nice little carriage frame support underway here. Okay, so you're going to come up to just shy of half, not quite the middle of your main body here, just short with your height of that, because we're going to contour that and minimize. You see how we're going to curve that around right here. So deselect everything. Zoom in on this face. We're going to select this face. We're going to rotate its axis of modification, or axis of rotation again. Select your modification tool. Select your rotation tool. Select your move tool. We're going to move this out to just past that edge again. Once you've got it like that, disable your axis modification tool. And we're going to hit rotate, and we're going to rotate this around by control clicking again in individual segments so that we're approximately vertical again. So control click. And the smaller you make these rotations, the smoother this looks. Of course, you're adding more polygons too, so consider that. And I'm leaving control pressed down, and I'm just rotating once, letting go. Rotating once, letting go. Just like this until I'm going to be 90 degrees here. We're getting there. And if this isn't perfect, if you end up too far, too short, don't worry about it. We can fix it. Like Bob Ross says, this is your happy little world. There's no mistakes. There's just happy little accidents. So we've got this guy set up. I'm going to deselect everything. You should be similar to this. We're going to select this face now. All right, we're going to rotate its axis of modification again. Modification tool. I'm going to rotate that so that it's vertical again, or approximate. If you get it perfect, let me know how you did it, because I've never gotten it perfect. So once you're there, disable your axis modification tool. And we're going to click Shift and drag on down here. And our goal is to exceed the end of this barrel just a touch. Just a touch. Doesn't need to be even, could be past it just a hair. Alright. And you see I'm a little high, which means I didn't get my last rotation perfect, but no big deal. Let's, while we've got it, move it down a touch so that it touches that bottom of that upper support. Just like you see here. And we're not perfect. I need to come out a little bit, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this surface instead. Or maybe not. Let's take a look here. We'll move it out just a touch. Get a quick render here. And I think I'm happy with that. Okay. So back up from the scene. Get a look at it. And we're mimicking this quite well. Get a look at it from a different approach. I think everything looks pretty good. So what do we need to do next? We need to give room for our ammo box. And so let's do that. We're going to leave this scene just like we have. You know what we can do? We could take this whole face if we wanted to and rotate that out. I think we're going to be good with it just the way that it is. So let's take and drop the cube into our scene. This is going to be our ammo box. This here you can make it however you like, big, small, thin, narrow, and anything we're going to do from this point beyond, you'll be able to adjust your framing so that it'll accommodate this box. So let's go into object mode and adjust the size of our box. And you want to give your box enough dimension to have a load of ammo going on here. And I'm going to line mine up with the bottom so that it would appear to be sitting on this support frame once I extrude that out, this line that's continuing on here. So I'm going to drag this down a little bit so that it would appear to be sitting on that frame. Don't want it floating, but don't want it embedded either, something about like that. You see what I'm talking about, how this box would be sitting on this frame. Okay, so I'm going to move my box back. I'm going to also make sure I've got some room between this main body and the box, just to give it a little bit more interest. Let me render that out. See how that box isn't touching this? You can come further or closer, however you want. I just want to be able to see in there, or light can be cast in there, and I can just see something happening back behind that. And I'm going to leave my box a little shorter than the whole apparatus here. Okay, so we've got our box, and let's leave it just like it is for now. We're going to go back in and grab our cube. We're going to get our face selection tool. We're going to select this face on the bottom. See what we've got. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see this back face of that rail that we're creating. And I'm just going to continue dragging it on towards the back. And you see how it's gone down, which means, again, I didn't get my rotation perfect and I'm off a touch. So what I can do is I can take this face and go ahead and let me rotate this axis here. My axis modification tool. So that I'm straight up and down, I'm vertical again, or close. And then I'm going to disable my axis modification tool, and I'm going to drag this frame up a touch. Something about like that. It probably needs to come down a touch. I'm intersecting. Alright, something about like that. So we're not perfect. You see I got a hint of downhill happening here, but it won't even be noticeable. And I'm going to reduce the width of my box so that it looks like it's actually setting on that frame. So I'm going to go back into object mode with my box selected and reduce the width of this. Just like you see right here. And if it would appear that this box is setting on this frame. And I'm going to have to adjust that face. I'm going to select that face again and move it up. And I think I'm good. I'm going to move that box down a little bit, the ammo box down a touch, so that it's setting on that surface now. So I think we're looking pretty good. If we look at this, it looks like that box is setting on there. I'm going to even narrow that box down a little bit more under object mode and just thin it down a little bit more so I can see that edge that this box is sitting on some sort of support frame. Alright, so where are we at? We need to extend this upper portion and begin curving it around so that we can form our handle. So let's select it, select these faces with our face selection tool. We're going to select this face, and what we're going to do is I'm going to control click and come out about an inch, and then I'm going to control click again and come out to the back of this box. It gives me a little segment so that I have a little bit more freedom in adjustment. And let's take a look. How did we make our rotation? Looks like we did a nice little 90-degree curve here. So make sure that you're just short of your box or thereabouts. And at this point we're going to move our axis of rotation for this face. Select your modification tool. We're going to rotate this around so that our red's pretty much vertical. And that's fairly close. Make sure I'm a little closer. Alright, once you're like that, we're going to move that axis of rotation over to the right. The move tool, get where you can see that. Over to the right. See how we are? And we're going to disable our axis modification tool. Choose rotate. We're going to do those click, control click, rotate. So what we're going to do is we're going to do control click, control click, control click, and we're going to bring that on around. Control click, control click. We're going to attempt to get it about 90 degrees again here. We might be able to pull it off. Just kind of got to get a visual. Control click, and we're getting close. Might need to go another little piece there. Control click, something like that. You can tell when your blue handle is lined up with your the plane of that support beam. Okay, so now let's get our move tool. Control click, drag, come in about a ½ inch or so, ¼ inch. Get a visual on that, and at this point control click one more time. We're going to bring it right in so that they intersect each other, or get close. Let's bring them into within a ½ inch of each other. And let's take a look at our box, see if we're intersecting it, and we're intersecting, so we need to reduce the size of that box just a touch. Going back into object mode and scale that down just a touch, and I'm going to move it back forward just a hint, and we're going to take this cube and get that face again, the face selection tool. Go back into model mode. And we'll need to adjust that inwards. Whoops, I'm moving it there. I need to adjust that inwards a touch something so that it looks, go for our top view here, so that it looks square and true, so that we've got an equal distance between these surfaces. See what I'm saying? Go to about something like about there, maybe a little further out. Yours is going to be different, guys. Everybody's going to be a little bit different because we're not moving these things to the exact same degree. So just get it close. And at this point we've got our frame going, and we'll proceed with our handle, building our handle and adding more detail in part 4. So this time it's a good time to save your project. We won't lose it, and we'll deselect everything, back into object mode, and get a final render of that, see where we're at. Alright guys, that's it for part 3. Stay tuned for part 4, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
Wow.